Hello everybody, I'm so excited to have you join us on live. We've been doing our 3-day event. We're halfway through our second day. Just absolutely been phenomenal. I'm really enjoying the time spent with some very dear friends and learning more at a deeper level, being able to take things from what we know here to our heart. This next section that I'm going to teach, I really wanted to allow all of you to join us because I think it is so powerful. It is learning how to use my personal value, my belief in myself, my product, my service, whatever it is that I'm offering to move through fear. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. So thank you so much for joining me. And you guys in my audience, thank you so much for being here again. Woo! You guys
Bravo.
So what I've learned about fear is that fear can stop me. If I focus on my fear. If I look at, let me give you a story. It's a military story. Those come up a lot, don't they? So I'm standing on top of a tower, a 110-foot tower. Wind's blowing. So much wind is blowing that the tower is rocking. Now, climbing up that tower, I was bawling, I was shaking, I was freaking out. The whole way up, I just like, I was so scared. And I get up on top of the tower and I'm afraid to let go. I'm holding on to every little thing I can get a hold of. And the rappel master says to me, "You don't have to do this." And yes I do. I'm shaking, white knuckles, freaking out. And I get up to the edge of the rappel tower and I turn around. Now, I don't know, have any of you ever rappelled before?
Down a chimney that wasn't very tall.
Okay.
Girl Scout camp.
Girl Scout camp. Okay. So when I was in the military, I had an airborne slot and an air assault slot. Airborne slot means you get to jump out of airplanes. Air assault means you come out of helicopters. And so we were preparing for that. Now, then I found out I was pregnant with my beautiful little girl, and, well, we didn't know she was a girl at the time, but I found out I was pregnant, and so they canceled my slots. They wouldn't let me go, which was fine. So, but I'm preparing for that. So this time, I'm going up to the tower to rappel out, just to get used to. Now, rappelling means that you just come off of the top, you do some bounds, you walk down, whatever. I'm sure you've seen it on TV where you have the rope behind you and you're walking down the side of a building in an L shape. So my feet would be on the wall. Here's the tower. And then there was a railing on the top. Just a little pole railing. And then I'm standing, I have a really big head, very smart. I'm standing right on the edge with the rappel master. He was a little bit taller than me, not a whole lot, but he's standing there next to me. And I'm getting ready to lean out over the edge so that I can rappel down. To be able to rappel, you've got to be at a 90-degree angle with the building. Otherwise, you fall. Your feet come out from underneath you and you smash into the wall. So you have to lean out from this tower with nothing but a rope tied off at the tower coming down that you hold on to that goes around your back. You just hold it and that's how you break. And then the rope comes all the way down to the ground. There's usually a coil of rope at the bottom. Not always, but sometimes. Sometimes the rope stops short right there. That's fun too. So I'm standing on top of this rappelling tower. Wind's blowing. I'm freaking out. I'm crying. I hate heights. Fear of heights. Massive fear of heights. And the rappel master was like, "You don't have to do this." I'm like, "Yes, I do. Yes, I do." And so we get the rope on, the rope through my carabiner, and I'm standing there like this, shaking. And then as you start to lean out, natural instinct is to grab the rope because all you see is space. This is all open, and you're right on this little edge right there. So you don't see anything. And then you're slowly leaning back. And every fiber in your being is screaming, "You're going to die!" And I'm overcoming that. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And you just slowly let the rope out. Now, once I would get into the L, then it was game on. Once I was in the L, I could let it go, and I came down in 2 bounds. Bam, bam, and I was on the ground. But up until that moment, I was scared to death. Climbing the ladder, shaking, afraid, had to like peel my fingers off. Got up at the top, all the way over, scared. Once I got into the L, I knew I was safe and I could go. I believed in my ability to break myself. I believed in my ability to come down the wall. I had seen so many people do it. I knew that I could repel. I just knew I had to move through the fear. So the belief in what I could do could move me through the fear. It's the same thing with scuba diving. I'm afraid of the water. I almost drowned when I was younger, so I learned how to scuba dive. I'm afraid of heights, so I go rock climbing and rappelling. There's a lot of things. Fear can stop you, or it can pull you forward. It's the feeling that you have inside and how you label it. So the whole time going up here, I'm scared. And then when I got to here, I could convert it to excitement. But the body, the physiological reaction inside your body is exactly the same. Increased heart rate, increased respirations, your heart's pounding, you're breathing hard, you're sweating. So you can either use your fear or your excitement to move you forward, or you can use it to stop you. I'm afraid of playing in the freeway, jacks on the freeway. My dad used to tell me sometimes, "Why don't you go play jacks in the middle of the road?" That's rude. That was rude of him. But I love him anyways. But we have fear to protect us. So I'm afraid of playing in traffic because I like being round. I don't like being flat. So I use that fear to stop me from doing something inappropriate. I can also use that fear to get the adrenaline pumping so the experience is that much more enjoyable. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you guys have an experience of when you conquered fear? Because I'd love to hear it. And you've online, type some comments in. We'd love to hear from you. My assistant, aka my daughter, will read those out and share us with us. First of all, we're going to go to our in-house studio audience, Maxwell.
So one of my experiences that I had, the first one that came up for me was when I was learning how to do a backflip. And I've tried doing a backflip on a trampoline, but with all this mass, it's hard to try and fling myself to a backflip. So one time I was on a diving board, and a diving board is much higher. Not only that, but when I spring, I got more room to flip. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. Why not? So I go up to the diving board, and I'm like, okay, I got this. All right, here we go. I got this. And everyone's like, are you scared? I'm like, nah, I'm excited. And the whole time my body's like, no, you're about to hurt yourself. And I put both toes at the end, because I've seen people do backflips before, so I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm going to do it. And I'll just copy them. It's easy enough. Put both of my toes on the very end, so the balls of my heels are starting to drop. I use my body weight, and I put myself down, and using my arms, I jump and try and fling myself backwards. And I don't know how high in the air. All I can see is sky, and I'm like, I'm not leaving the sky. I just see sky. This isn't right. And then my immediate reaction was to yell a profanity, which I did. And from however high I hit the ground, backflop. And I flipped up. I'm like, I'm sorry. I did not mean to. I didn't mean to swear. I apologize. And I had people come up and say, you're going to hell for that. And I was like, anyways. But I didn't care. I kept trying. I tried over, I think, 10 to 15 times. I kept going up, and I kept flopping. And I tried again. And sometimes I'd spin around sideways, and I'd face flop, or I'd flop on my side. And I wasn't sunburnt. I was just red from flopping so many times. then finally a kid, there were so many kids who kept coming up to me because I stopped swearing after the 5th time. It was initial, just at that point I accepted it's going to hurt. And a kid finally came up, he was like 10 years old, and he's like, you're doing the backflip wrong. I'm like, well, what do you mean? How do you do a backflip? And he's like, well, instead of throwing your arms, you're throwing your arms back, and that's causing you to like stop midair, and you're twisting and all kinds of stuff. What you need to do is instead just focus on throwing your knees into your chest and using your legs to flip you instead.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, okay, I'll try that. So I go up to the diving board. I'm like, okay, like take me step by step. And the kid's standing over there, and he's like, okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna use your arms to like get going, but instead of trying to use your arms to fling yourself, you're just gonna, instead of flinging your arms, use your legs. So I go down and I use my shoulders to throw me up, and I use my knees to come back. And I would like to say it was freaking 2 backflips, nailed it, landed in. No, it was a backflip, and I was like, I nailed it midair, but I didn't hit the water. So now my feet are in the water, and I just kind of backflip again and kind of like whip myself into the water. But I did it, and I'm sure it took a lot of courage for that kid to come up to me and say, hey, you know, you're doing it wrong. Especially after so many people came up and gave me crap. They're like, you can't do it. You've flopped how many times now? You're completely red as a lobster, and you're still going up to try. There was a line. By now people have gathered, and they're just sitting there just waiting for me to flop again, recording. And the kid came up, and he's like, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Can I help you? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And
Beautiful.
I walked up to the kid. I gave him a high five. I was like, dude, you're awesome. Thank you so much for your help. You know, I wouldn't have been able to get that far without you. And I gave him a lot of praise. And I was like, you're really brave for doing that. And people still gave me crap even after. And people still saying, you swear so much, you're going to hell. And I went to Lake Powell, and I was about 30 feet off the air, ready to do another backflip. But then I went down to 10 feet, and then I did a backflip. So I did about 5 decent backflips.
Yeah.
6th one, I was like, it was really good. So then I went up to 30 feet, and that was a different experience. I looked down, and I was like, I'm going to do this, aren't I? And my dad was yelling, and he was giving me crap again, and he was telling me, like, you ain't going to do it. You're scared. You need some Vagisil, all that kind of stuff. And so I got up, and I actually did the best backflip I ever did off a 30-foot cliff, and I nailed it perfectly. So,
yeah. So that fear helped you focus on where you wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
It also, you had to practice.
Mm-hmm.
If you hadn't have done all of those practices before going to the 30-foot cliff, you could never have nailed the backflip, right? So fear can protect us, fear can propel us, and practice gets us better. So the measuring and the monitoring and the adjusting after each attempt, then you got some mentoring. That's phenomenal. Great story. Nice job. Round of applause. Nice job. Absolutely wonderful. So if you're feeling fear, use it as the fuel to move yourself forward. Have so much belief on the other side of that fear that you can do it. When I first started my business in 2012, I was scared to death of so many things. Scared to death of rejection. You know, I made so many cold calls, I would make a phone call. No, we don't want that. Make another one. So we came up with the Snoopy dance, right? Some of you may know me already for the Snoopy dance. And the reason the Snoopy dance came to be is because I needed a way to celebrate forward movement, even if I wasn't getting what I wanted to get. I needed forward movement. And so I would make 5 phone calls, and then I would run out into the living room, start playing the Snoopy dance, and yell, Snoopy dance! And all the kids would come running, and we would do the crazy Snoopy dance, and I would feel all happy, and then I'd go back in and make 5 more calls. But that's how I kept moving forward. If I hadn't have found a way to celebrate that rejection, if you want to call it, it wasn't celebrating the fact that I made a sell. It was celebrating the fact that I picked up the phone, or in this case, a cell phone, picked up my phone, dialed the number, and called. So if you're finding fear Use that fear to move you forward. Find a way to celebrate the fear. Now, I'm currently in a class with Tony Robbins. Shout out for Tony Robbins. Awesome, awesome gentleman. And Dean Graziosi, one of the top real estate investors. And they have put together a class called Knowledge Business Blueprint that I'm absolutely loving. And it's online. There's live parts of it. There's some of it's all recorded. Phenomenal, phenomenal course. I highly recommend it for you. In there, Tony talks about fear. He did a Facebook Live about fear. And these are some of my notes that I took from that. And first of all, he talked about how he disciplines his fear. I have also done that for myself, where, just like I was saying, when I was climbing up the rappel tower, I can do this. I can make it. I can get there, okay? Discipline your fear. I want you to think for a moment, online and in the audience, some fears that you may have right now, and then I'm going to ask you to share them, and we're going to work on disciplining. Somebody online have a question?
Oh no, they made a comment about the fear of what they did.
Okay, so awesome. Just a minute. So we're going to talk about how we're going to discipline that fear. But first of all, what is the fear? And so our first will come from our online audience.
Her name is Lizette Diaz.
Okay.
Forgive me if I kind of killed your name. But she says, I am afraid of swimming, don't know how to swim. I have taken swimming lessons in high school, so I know the technique, but can't get over the fear. I almost drowned several times while trying to learn and trusting people to help me. Now I'm in my 50s, and I believe that at this point in my life, I'm going to need a therapist, swimming instructor, and a lifeguard to be able to learn. I have gone down a water slide in a shallow area, scared, but I did it.
Woohoo!
I just wish I could learn how to swim. Fear is stopping me.
Okay, thank you so much for your comment and your question. If I understand your question right, it's how do I move through that fear so that you can swim? If that's it, give me a thumbs up, a heart, whatever, say yes. The way to move through a fear is gently. Now, well, there's two ways. You can jump in the deep end, right? Which it sounds like you've tried to do a few times. And because of that, you've increased your fear because it didn't go well. Now it's time to do it gently. There's a reason there's a shallow end and a deep end. My friend, start at the shallow end. Just go in and put your feet in. Wade around in the water a little bit. Get used to it. When you're in the shower, talk about, I love water because it cleanses me. It heals me. I love to drink water. I enjoy being around water. So first of all, we're going to start with the mental part of it. Instead of saying, I'm afraid of water, start saying, I love water, or I enjoy water, or I partake of water. Whatever word you want to use, I enjoy water. Then you're going to start moving into the physical action side of it, where you start putting yourself in water. Get a little kiddie pool. Get one of those little plastic kiddie pools. You can get them at Walmart or whatever. They're a foot deep. Go sit in it. Or go to the local pool. Get in the shallow end. Sit in the water or wade in the water. Start getting used to the water. Spend time in the shallow end. In the last part of my book, I go through different scenarios on how to tame the bully, on how to work through different things. So instead of working it to deal with fear of another person, you can use those same scenarios to work with the fear of any object. For you, it would be water. Remind yourself, I'm safe, I'm protected, I can breathe. So all of that mental chatter, changing it to positive instead of negative. Give me a thumbs up if that helps. Let me know if you have more questions or comments. Please keep them going. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Anybody else have a question or a comment that they would like to work through?
I was working on heights with you, and you forced me.
So I am the type of person that if I have a fear and it's an irrational fear, then what you're going to do is you're going to move through that fear, because I don't want my fear to control me. That goes back to I discipline my fear. I don't want my fear to stop me. And so I need to learn how to move through that fear. Now, remember earlier when I talked about there is good fear and there is bad fear. The brain, its responsibility is to keep me alive. However, I can override it by looking at it. Fear of water can be good. It could kill me or I could enjoy it. I love boating. I love sitting. We have one of those big, huge water wings, you know, that you go fast on. I like sitting on it and just trolling around, dragging my hand through the water. I love that. Going fast and getting thrown in the water? Nope, don't like that. But I enjoy boating and being on the waves, wave runners. I enjoy those things. If I had not worked on overcoming my fear of water, I wouldn't be able to do those things. Make sense? So I discipline my fear. I decide, I look at it. Oh, there's some fear coming up. Is it going to protect me and save my life, or is it stopping me from what I want to do? April, you had a...
So you asked the question of, what are your fears? So the first one I wrote down was fear of failure, and then the second one that came up was fear of success. And I'm like, oh, great.
This got you coming and going, right?
Yeah.
So welcome to the club.
Fear of being stuck in the middle.
Many people have that fear of failure. Really, if I don't make it happen, right, then people are going to make fun of me. If I say I'm going to create a business and I don't create that business, people are going to say, oh, yep, right, I knew it. Or if I create a business and it does really well, then what are people going to think of me? That's your mind going, whatever it is, I don't want change. I don't care if it's failure. I don't care if it's success. I don't want it to happen. So as soon as you identify I'm afraid of failure, then it goes, oh, well, wait, she took care of that. Oh, fear of success. That will stop her. So your brain is just trying to keep you right where you're at, even if you don't like right where you're at. Right where you're at is known, and it hasn't killed you, therefore it's safe. So your brain says, right now, right where I'm at is perfect because I'm safe right here. I don't want to leave right here. So if it can stop you by saying fear of failure, it can. If it can stop you, you can stand up, and one of my audience members is leaving to answer a phone call. You didn't need to crawl. It's okay. If you need to take a phone call, go ahead and get up and leave. But it's trying to keep you stuck right where you are. So great job on identifying your fear of failure, your fear of success. Nice job. Snoopy dance. Woo-hoo! Snoopy dance. So the fear of failure, now that you've identified it, now you can work on it. You can start taming those voices. And it's not... The biggest thing when you're afraid of fear or failure is that what other people are thinking about me. As soon as you can answer that and calm it, the better. It doesn't matter what others think about me. And that will keep you stuck. Welcome back, audience member. It's my son, Maxwell. Some of you may know him. Give a shout out for Max. Woo-hoo! So the first law of learning, or the first law of change in anything, is awareness. You have to be aware of what you want to change. So, number one, awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness that you need to change something, awareness that you want something different, awareness that there's a problem. It always has to start with awareness. Then the second thing is a decision. A decision. Okay, so I'm afraid of failure because of what others might think of me. Now you have a decision to make. Do I move forward, or do I stay where I am? Or do I shrink back? So then you make a decision. Which way am I going? Where do I want to go? And then third, you take action. And as you've heard me say before, hummingbird steps count too. Those little tiny steps, such as we were speaking with a lady earlier about the fear of water. Start with, I like water. I enjoy water. That's a hummingbird step, or it may be a big step for you. It doesn't matter. But start somewhere. So take action. Awareness, decision, action. That's how you change. Change is going to happen anyways. Every day we're changing. We're either shrinking and getting smaller and closing in on ourselves, or we're expanding and growing and embracing and loving the world. I used to shrink and hide from people, and it started when I was in elementary school. And they told me, you're too stupid, you're never going to make it. I started shrinking. Now I'm like, hey, I'm here. I have just as much right to live and enjoy as anybody else. Now, I don't take from other people. I do receive, but I don't take. I also don't stop on other people's abilities to live and grow and learn. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that help you?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Where does fear come from?
Ourselves, our own imagination.
Fear comes from a belief. It comes from projecting into the future and going to doomsday. It's really what fear comes from. It comes from, like you were saying earlier about, I have a fear of failure, I have a fear of success. Do you need to go make a phone call? Please do, madam. So as I'm looking into the future. So I decide, let's go back to when I decided to do this business, January 2012. I made the decision I wanted to create a teaching business, and I wanted to reach people from stage. The first thing was, nobody's going to listen to you. And then it was, well, what are you going to share? And then it was, you're too stupid, you can't do this. So all of these lists of fears kept coming up. So the fear came from me looking into the future and predicting destruction and mayhem. It came from looking out there and going, oh, crash and burn. So if you feel fear coming up, ask yourself, where does the fear come from? And see if you can identify, because once you can identify where the fear comes from, then you can start working on it. But if you just have fear and you can't identify it, you don't know where to go. Next, do you have some fears that you have right now, or April just stepped out, but what are some fears that you would like some help identifying right now? And I know I put you on the spot. Those of you online, please, if you have a fear, or maybe you're just stuck and you don't know what kind of a fear it is, let's work with it. Let's see if we can identify it and take care of it.
A fear I've been dealing with lately, it's not one that's really stopping me. Fear has never really been an issue of stopping me, but I guess I could just mention one that I'm having, is just pursuing the nightmares that I have and actually like revisiting them, looking at them, and being like, okay, what is the source of this? And sometimes it's really just a memory that I tried to hide away. Sometimes it's, I guess not really a moment or a lesson that I have that I need to learn. So some mornings when I first wake up, I just need to give myself a second to just kind of prepare. And I've noticed that I shouldn't really make any decisions for the day then, because I'm in a very emotional state, and when my emotion is high, intelligence is low. So I give myself like 30 minutes just to get ready for the day. I eat food, I clean myself up, all that kind of stuff.
We're going off task a little bit.
So dealing with fears that are created, but
fears, they're real.
Yeah.
Fear is very real. It's not fake. Fear is fear. So you're creating it for a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not unfounded,
Okay.
first of all. So the question is where's the fear coming from? And so, hang on, we'll be right there. And so if you have the fear of, I'm just going to ask the question, is the fear that it may repeat itself? Or is the fear that you won't learn from it? Or is the fear that you're going to be stuck there?
I think the fear is having to revisit it
Okay.
I think that's why I tried to just kind of hide it away, shove it away, and make it disappear. So that way I didn't have to deal with it.
Okay.
And just revisiting that stuff.
Okay. Beautiful. So having to go through something either through memory or in real life.
Yeah.
That's a real fear. You know, hurt people, and it seems like there's more and more, and you never know when that hurt person's going to cross your path.
Mm-hmm.
That's where faith comes in, and that's where knowing that whatever happens, I can get through it one way or another. The other day I was talking with Lawrence, and as you know, I have a concealed carry permit. And we were talking about, is that faith, or is that not believing in God? Is that not trusting in God? And I said, well, I'm a concealed carry person. God made me an expert shot for a reason.
Duly noted.
Right? And it kind of goes back to that story about the guy on the roof, and you know, the water's rising and a boat comes along, and he's like, no, God will save me. You know, and the water's rising and the helicopter comes along. No, I'm okay, God will save me. And the water keeps rising. And then he dies and he goes to heaven. He says, God, why didn't you save me? I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. I had someone warn you before it even happened. I was trying to save you.
An expectation of a present versus a pathway.
Right, exactly. An expectation of a present versus a pathway. So the Lord made me an expert shot for a reason. I have my concealed carry permit. I'm an expert shot, and I believe in God to take care of me. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the trifecta. So does that help?
It does, and I do realize that it will never happen again because of how I grow.
Beautiful.
And events never recreate themselves type deal. So
Right. Beautiful. Good job. Give you a round of applause. Nice job. Okay, now we had an online question, comment, concern.
Yeah, the question. Diane Extergaunt, forgive me again for
It's okay. You don't have to do
manipulating your name.
Just
Their concern is their fear of not knowing what my audience needs to hear.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful question. I used to have that fear as well. And I have learned that if I'm going through it, the people who are around me are most likely going through it too. I have never found, people are people, and I've never found one person having just one experience. Each person has the same experiences as many other people. Also, thoughts are things, right? So as I have thoughts, it is because other people around me are having those thoughts and feelings too. So the thing that has helped me the most is going, okay, what am I struggling with right now? What am I learning right now? I bet someone else may need to know this too. And then we just, like now, we just do a Facebook Live and we like to teach people about it. You have a special gift. First of all, because you've been called to share your message. The fact that you've been called means that you have inside of you something someone else needs to hear. Is that one person or a million? I don't know. You may not know either, but you have it inside of you. You see, I believe that this world is a tapestry. We are all a thread in the tapestry of life. So picture for a moment, you're going through life and you have your thread falling out behind you, right? And I'm weaving a pattern. My thoughts, my feelings change the color of that thread, which make up the tapestry. Your tapestry interacts with all the other, your thread interacts with all the other threads. So by sharing what you feel you need to share, you're improving the lives of everybody around you. Don't let fear shut your mouth. Let God use your knowledge and your experience to change and touch other people's lives. I want you to know that somebody needs to hear your voice. They absolutely need to hear your voice. And the way you'll say it. When I first started making the decision to transition from the classroom to the stage, I went through that with God. But Lord, look at all these people that are teaching the same thing that I'm teaching. There's tons of people talking about self-improvement. There's tons of people talking about thoughts or things and how to improve your thoughts, how to improve your life. And the message came through very, very clear to me that they don't say it the way you say it. And there's a person that needs to hear it in your voice and your words. I extend that to you as well. There is somebody or a bunch of somebodies that need to hear what you have to say. Start saying it. Yes.
Another one.
Perfect.
Okay. Fear on how today's culture is changing, and I'm feeling the need to protect my children. But culture changes are so overpowering, I can't keep up. Culture is moving away so far from good family values. Fear leads to stress. How can I overcome this?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful question. So this is how we deal with it in our house. Now my kids are a little bit older, but I promise you they were younger and smaller at one time. And what I did with Lord and Savior, is we created a very, very safe environment in our home. And I taught my kids how to speak up and how to defend themselves. When they were in this house, well, the houses that we've lived in over the last few years, they always knew there was a safe place. They could come to me no matter what, with any issue at any time. And we would work through it. We would talk about it. Or we would do an activity or whatever. The best way to take care of your children is to preserve the culture in your home. If you create a good, strong, solid foundation that can hold them, then when they go out into the world, they take that foundation with them. You also let them know that they're welcome to come back at any time, no matter what, because you're there for them. There's also a time when you may need to push them out of the nest. Even eagles need a push. Because if they don't learn how to fly, they're going to be scratching with the chickens. I don't know your exact situation. I do know that in 2007, we took TVs out of our house. The reason we took TV out of our house is because of all the negative news. I do not listen to the radio with news on it. I do not listen to TV. I do not read newspapers or talk about it. And I know people are saying, but Jeannie, you got to know what's going on in the world, right? No, I hear it. I take care of my house, and then I allow others to take care of their house. If everybody was taking care of their own front yard, we'd have some pretty cool front yards in our neighborhood. It's the same thing with the house. I teach the values of love, respect, kindness, honesty, all of those things in my home, so that when they go out into the world, they take those things with them. When they go out into the world and they find something different, they can come back at any time and refill. Stop focusing on the negative. Shut it off, turn it off, get it away. Now, earlier, we were talking about some situations, and when 9/11 happened, I don't know how many of you remember 9/11. Most people do if they were there. I didn't know anything about it until I got to school. I didn't know what was happening until a neighbor came over and knocked on my door and said, "Do you know what's happening?" I don't watch the TV. I don't watch the news. I don't want it in my life. It's so negative. When they came over and told me about that, there was nothing I could do about it. So I didn't need to know about it. I want you to think about that for a minute. There was nothing I could do about it. So I didn't want to know about it. The only thing that I can do to protect my family is right now in the house. Are we safe? Yep. Are we praying to God? Yep. Are my guardian angels at my door and posted all the way around my house? Yep. Absolutely. The way I help protect the world from another 9/11 is teaching that hurt people hurt people. And if we can start to heal that pain, we stop the abuse, we stop the violence, and we stop the hatred. I don't focus on the negative. Mother Teresa was noted for never ever going to a peace walk or an anti-war rally. I apologize. She never went, she was always come support our anti-war rally. She said, no. But when you have a march for peace, I'll be there. Because what you focus on gets bigger. So if I'm focusing on the evil in the world, if I'm focusing on the bad things in the world, those get bigger. If I focus on the love and the good and the charity, I see more of that. So here, after all that explanation, here's your homework. I want you to start looking for the good in people. It may take you a while, but start looking for the good in people. And start being the good yourself. Start being the good. When you walk along the sidewalk, do you pick up trash? I don't know. Do you smile at people around you? Just some things to think about. Do you write letters of encouragement? Do you tell people that you love them and that you care about them? That's how you make the world a better place. That's how you teach your kids how to focus on the good instead of the bad. I hope you found value in that. I know I did. I know I did. It's a really good reminder. If you have any other questions, please let us know. We'll make sure and get those out. Thank you so much. Love you guys. And I know you had something you were going to say earlier before we went online. Did it get answered?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect. So, where does the fear come from? What am I focusing on? We already talked about that quite a bit. Am I focusing on the good or am I focusing on the bad? Because the more I focus on the bad, the more I get of it. The more I focus on my fear, the more I get of it. If I focus on the fact that I'm strong, I'm competent, I'm smart, I can feel things, I can do things, I get more of that. So when you feel that fear come up, whether it be of water or heights or all the bad in the world, focus on, hey, there's good in the world too. Water does good things for me. The other thing is that will always take care of fear. It's gratitude. Gratitude conquers fear every single time. Belief conquers fear. When I am grateful for the things I have, there cannot be fear. In fact, in my book that I'm currently writing, Taming the Bully Between Your Ears, there's a whole chapter on gratitude and how it will absolutely change your life. Make a list of 100 things that you're grateful for. Don't repeat any of the items. At first, you're going to start off with your family and your friends and your house and your clothes and your job. And then you're going to start getting into some pretty deep things. 100. Make a list of 100 things that you're grateful for. Now you can break it up and do 10 a day over the next 10 days, or you can sit down and do the whole list all at once. It doesn't matter, but you will realize that when you get deep into that feeling of gratitude, there is no fear. Just belief and love and gratitude. Make your list of 100 things, right? Make your list of 100 things. Focus on the present and on what you can control. 3 things. Focus on what I have, focus on what I can control, and then focus on the present. Right now in this moment, I am safe. When 9/11 happened, right now in that moment, I was safe. I was in Utah, wasn't anywhere near it. Right now in my house, I'm safe. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 minutes, but right now in my house, I'm safe. So much fear comes from projection, going out into the future and doing a doomsday prediction. When I start to do that, I was a driver's ed teacher for a lot of years. And the first day my children drove away from my house, I was a basket case. And I would have to remind myself, they're safe, they're okay, I've trained them, they know what they're doing. I would have to talk to myself. I invite you to do the same thing. Talk to yourself more. Listen to yourself less. I'm like, wait a minute, what does that mean? Stop listening to the negative voices in your head and start talking positive, uplifting, encouraging comments. I believe in myself. Right now I'm safe. I love myself. I can learn what I need to learn and I can share it. Love what you do so much that it's a disservice not to share it. When you're sitting in a group of people and all they can do is complain and moan about what's going on, share what's right in the world. The next time your server brings your meal out, thank them. Say, hey, thank you so much for being here, working and delivering my food to me. Even if it's cold, thank them. Thank your mail carrier. Thank your banker. Thank everybody that you come into contact. When you come in contact with somebody, make their day better. That's how you overcome fear. I can control my attitude. Remember, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies my power to choose. I get to choose what happens. I choose. Everywhere I go, I make a difference. Who I am makes a difference. I choose whether it's positive or negative. Okay, thank you so much. For any other questions online, we're going to go ahead and sign off online. So if you have any questions, type them in right quick and we'll address those. If you're watching this later when it's not live, go ahead and put some questions in and I'll make sure and recircle back to this and answer any of those questions. Our event does go until 6:30 tonight, so it won't be until after 6:30. But thank you so much for you guys joining us. Really appreciate it. Will you guys give the people online a round of applause for joining us? Thank you so much. Have a fabulous day. Bye for now.